Have you ever heard anybody or somebody who died of eating too much carrot or too much broccoli? Have you heard anybody who died of high blood pressure, obesity, clogged artery, high cholesterol? I think the answer, yeah, thank you. The answer is yes. My topic today is food that kills. And this is the exact same title of a, I think it's 1 hour video that I watched recently. So this is not a title that I coined. It's somebody else's, so I'm just borrowing. I watched it at least 2 times. Actually, I downloaded it and I converted it into audio. So food that kills. What kind of food that kills? What is it? 15 cows, 25 pigs, 10 sheep, 1,000 chicken, 500 fish, 5,000 eggs, and 1,000 gallons of milk. You know what are those? Can anybody guess? What are those?
Farm products.
It's farm product, it's animal product, but those are actual numbers based on some statistics, and I double check them in some detail. Those are average number of pounds or animals that each of us eat for his entire life. And if you are from a religion that does not eat pigs, then the number of cows increase to 20 cows, 0 pigs, of course, because you don't eat pigs, 10 sheep, 1,000 chicken. If you count it, I took the number, they're plus minus, assuming that each one of us will live until the age of 80, depends on when did you start, 500 fish, 5,000 eggs, and 1,000 gallons of milk. This is a lot, too many pounds of animal products. The author of this research is a doctor who talks as I mentioned, in YouTube, claims that animal product is food that kills you. In the US, there are 3 main problems with our diet in the US. Problem number 1, we eat too much fat. An animal product compared to plant product has way too much fat than plant. Plant has fat, but it's plant fat. Olive oil has fat, avocado has fat, but fat from animal product has much more unhealthy fat compared to fat that comes from plant. So that's the first problem that we have in our diet in the US. The second one is we eat too much protein. And again, animal product has much higher protein content, concentrated protein, than protein that we get from plants. And the third problem with our diet is we eat very little fiber. Very little. The statistics or the FDA recommends that we need 30 grams of fiber every day. And if you eat animal product, they have no fiber whatsoever, including the healthiest fish you find in the healthiest place in the world, 0 fiber. Cheese, milk, butter, cow milk, cow meat, 0 fiber. No fiber whatsoever. So now, why do we need fiber? What's so special about fiber? There are 2 types of fiber. Very briefly, because my presentation is not specifically about fiber. 2 types of fiber. The first type is called soluble fiber. And this is fiber that's simply, it dissolves in water. You take this type of fiber, isolate it, mix it with water, and it simply dissolves in water. And the other type is insoluble fiber. It doesn't dissolve in water. So we need both types. Why? Because the fiber that dissolves in water just starts with the water, we eat it, and then one of the properties of this fiber, it clings into fat. just combines itself with fat. Just think of it as one dot of fiber attach itself to one dot of fat, and then it takes that fat and takes it away out of the body. Well, there are two benefits to that. One is you're getting rid of fat because the fiber is combining with it and preventing the cells from absorbing this fiber. The second benefit to it is because in this case when you go to the bathroom you have a much easier time because you have some fat with your stool. So that's the first type of fiber called soluble fiber. The other type of fiber is called insoluble fiber. It doesn't dissolve in water, it doesn't get digested by the stomach, it simply goes from the mouth to the stomach and then it goes to the intestine. So what does that mean? Why are we eating something that just goes away? Well, the reason is because that fiber, just think of it as a small tiny hair passing by, it carries the water that we drink with it. So it stays intact, so you're having, and then when it goes to the intestine, there are water. It's carrying its water on its back, so again, it makes you much easier to go to the bath. So those are the three problems we have with the US diet. Protein. Let me talk very briefly about protein. We need every day 30 grams, 30 of protein every day. How much the average when each one of us eats every day? 150 grams of protein every day, 5 times. Every day we eat. Well, why is that? Protein exists much more concentrated in animal product, much more than the protein that we receive from plants. So when you eat protein, your body, what does it do? You're eating 5 times as much as your body needs. So what does it do? It goes to the liver breaks it into chemicals, and then the body doesn't need it. It has to go out. So ultimately it leaves the body through the kidney as in form of urine, which is fine. You can't say what's the problem with that. I get rid of that 5 times that you're talking about. The problem is with it, because it's chemically changed, it takes with it the calcium in the body. Well, we need calcium. Calcium you need it for bones, you need it for all the cells. So that excess protein is exiting the body, but it's taxing you. It's taking the calcium with it, and you're just getting rid of your calcium. That's precious calcium. Now, you might say, well, I have to eat some meat. What about those vegetarians? Can they live? Can somebody live vegetarian? I'm not vegetarian. I'm not advocating you live vegetarian. Last time, as was mentioned, that I gave a speech about hot dogs and there were a riot in the room. And I learned not to tell. This is like some people that they just take it. It's better if you. So I am not vegetarian. I am not advocating or suggesting that you should be vegetarian. But can somebody be a vegetarian? The answer is yes. Why? Because all what you need in a daily basis, you can get that from plants. And what do you need every day? You need 30 grams of protein, where you can get that from legumes, broccoli, sprouts, seeds, nuts, grains. They're all plant food. So you can get your 30 grams of protein from plant. You need 2 quarts of water. You can get it from the river, so it's a neutral thing. You need vitamins and minerals. Vitamins and minerals, plant. They are full of vitamins, so you don't need any animal product. And you need for energy, you need sugar and oil. Oil and sugar gives the energy, so you can get them from plants. So all what you need, those 5 items, you can get them from natural, water, and plants. No animal product. Animal product is not good for you, generally. Not good for you. Animal fat contains cholesterol, high in cholesterol, very high in cholesterol. Plant fat contains 0 cholesterol, no cholesterol whatsoever. Meat and dairy has high sodium. I didn't know that. Meat and dairy. Well, I know salt had NaCl, sodium chloride, but then research says meat and dairy are high in sodium, and of course sodium is one of the main reasons for high blood pressure. Animal versus plant oil. Plant oil is liquid at room temperature. You know, olive oil, all the plant oil are liquid. We'll take a piece of animal fat or a piece of meat at room temperature, it's solid. Well, if the room temperature is around, just for analogy, is around 98.6 degrees, this is our body temperature. Our body temperature is 98.6. But when you eat the animal fat, that animal fat is going to stay as solid inside of you because it stays solid in a room temperature with 98 degrees. So that means what? It's going to be stored in your body as solid. It will fill your artery inside as solid. While animal or plant oil, it's liquid, so it's not doesn't solidify. So now what do? What is the solution? We know that animal product is bad. It is food that kills you. Do we stop eating them? Absolutely not. I eat them. I will continue to eat them. But my solution to this is this. That's simple. It's my own creation, my own drawing. Simple drawing. This one, it says what? You eat 3/4 of your meal, of your daily intake. Could have really a bad breakfast, but at the end of the day, balance it this way. 3/4 of your daily intake should be from plant, and it should be natural plant. Don't go for preservative and dry. That doesn't count as plant. Just natural. If it's tomato, take it, cut it, put it. And then the 1/4 of your daily intake or the meal, that's your own selection, your own choice. Put hot dogs there, put whatever you want. So that's one solution. If there's no alternative, you have no alternative but to eat fat or meat or something, I would say select your poison. And I'll give you an example. I drink coffee. I try to put, instead of the creamer, when I go buy the coffee, put the creamer just 2% on skim milk. It doesn't taste, it tastes horrible to me. So what do? I just put the creamer, even though I'm against the creamer. I know the creamer is really bad, but I am selective. I can afford to take the creamer or half and a half, put a little more quantity. Why? Because when I eat my lunch, I'm avoiding all those other fats and other heavy stuff that comes from animal. I hardly eat any red meat, so my poison, I'm selecting my poison by putting creamer in my coffee, and I like ice cream. And I go to eat, I go almost every day, every other day, and I eat ice cream. I know, look at the name, cream. It's cream. It's terrible, but it's cream, and it is your white powder, which is the sugar, but that's okay. Once in a while, it's okay. So select your poison, follow this 1/4, 3/4, and avoid as much as possible animal planet, animal product, and hopefully you will be healthy.
Solomon, thank you so much. Great job. First of all, I really like the topic. Anything having to do with food, I'm always very interested. I thought you made great eye contact with the audience. You definitely had an enthusiasm for the topic I came across, and that generated enthusiasm for me. I thought your gestures were good. You seemed comfortable up there. You seemed relaxed, no fear. You have a really pleasant personality that came through in the speech. And you seem to have a real passion for the topic of food, eating right. In terms of growth opportunities, I know that I'm always addicted to my notes. You know, I'm really trying to get away from using the notes, because if I have notes, I get real reliant on them, and I know that people in the audience have told me to stay away from the notes. So maybe a challenge for you in the future would be to try and do it without the notes. I think you could. I think you could have done it. You talked about soluble and insoluble fiber. It would have been nice to have some examples of what foods are soluble fiber. I think rice bran is soluble fiber. Insoluble fiber is oatmeal, I think. But it would be good to give a couple examples so that people, because it can be confusing. Some people think oatmeal is fiber, but it's soluble fiber, but it's not. another suggestion to help you connect better with the audience, and Tim has told this to me, is to use the word you more. You. You were using a lot of I, me. Tim has told me to try and eliminate that. It's really hard to do. It's counterintuitive, but it really does connect to the audience. The point of the speech was a little unclear until the end, and maybe at the beginning of the speech you could say the point of my speech is I'm going to talk about some foods that are bad for you and some foods that are good for you, and I'm going to show you how to improve your diet because why? Because this food will keep you alive, it'll increase your longevity. Like, what's the value proposition for this whole speech? And Tim was talking about, he suggested to me to create a story. I don't know if it's possible to create a story around all this food stuff, but if you could have encompassed all that in some kind of story, that would be really powerful. That'd be really powerful. So other than that, I love that topic, so thank you.
Soliman, I enjoyed your presentation. You seem very comfortable with the group and standing up in front of us. You seem very comfortable in your delivery. And I was particularly taken by the way you started your presentation with the statistics of the volume of food on the animal level that we all purportedly consume. That was really quite mind-boggling and somewhat disturbing to me. And I was thinking, that's enough right there to make me a vegetarian, frankly. So I thought that was very powerful to start that way. If your goal was indeed to perhaps open minds about potential change, and as Connie mentioned, I'm not quite sure what your overall objective was with your audience other than to inform. I mean, it didn't seem like there was a ulterior agenda or that it was simply informative. But I thought the way you started it off, kicked it off, was quite interesting. And I appreciated your diagram at the end, the red and the green, and that kind of created, a little different dimension, and it caused me to really think about all the animal. I don't know, it was very disturbing, frankly. So thank you.
The question you used was very effective, and you had a beautiful pause. So you had this great question, we had a pause to think about it, another great question, pause to think about it, get some ideas in the audience. I think that was great, and I think you could develop that, and I'll talk about that in areas for development. Graphic statistics. When you give statistics, one thing you did really well is you illustrate statistics, not just 5% of this, 6% of this, but chickens or cows or pigs or whatever it is. That brings everything alive. If you can take statistics and make a picture of it, that's really effective. You're organized. You say, here's the first, here's the second, here's the third thing. Great examples. There's something better than examples. Connie's already mentioned a little bit. Use the you, I thought, in there. You can use it more. I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. You had callbacks to previous speeches, your previous speech. So that's good too, because that if people happen to be there and heard your previous speech, that pulls them in and gets them thinking more than just about this speech, about broader ideas you're talking about. Push-pull, as its world champion speaker Craig Valentine calls it, is that you talk about here the negative things. You don't want to have those, and then, oh, here's the positive solution. So all you have to do is just take this positive solution, you eliminate all those negatives. Push-pull, really well done. The graphic, very simple, very easy to follow. Now, I was thinking about it, and I've been watching you speaking over the years. I think there are two things you can really do to focus and make your speaking from where you are to where you want to be. And one is eliminate asides. You have a lot of times when you say, well, this isn't really relevant, let me talk about it a bit. And this whole thing on fiber, these other sort of little bits in there. I've watched this video off the YouTube and I downloaded it and I wasn't certain about it. It doesn't add, it just detracts. So think about really what you want to get across and maybe write out a kind of a sketch of it and ask yourself, is this central to my main point? Do I want to talk about YouTube? I want to talk about fiber? When in doubt, leave it out. And then relevance. again, that's how you sort things out. What's relevant? Make sure it's all relevant to your subject. Then thoughts, other thoughts of improvement. Reference source. You said, I looked it up, it's true, it has there. What's the reference source? Where does it come from? That'll make it even more believable. Let the audience come to the conclusion. Quite often you tell the audience, well, this is bad, this is good. Put it broadly. Would you like to have more of this or more of that? We both get a chance to buy into it. Your audience gets a chance to buy into it. They're much more likely to agree with something they buy into than something you tell them to buy into. Hands, minor point. You just remember to get your hands up here. I know it's comfortable, but if you can get them down, you look more open, more receptive. Stories, as Connie mentioned. Maybe a story about how you did this. How I used to be, eating meat with everybody else, if you were. And then suddenly I had this horrible experience, and I couldn't do it after that. And it changed me, that type of thing. And step through it with the story. And every now and then stepping out of the speech just to connect with the audience. So you talk about this stuff, says, what sort of, how much meat do you think you eat? Or, just get some thoughts and feedback, Oh, if you eat that much meat, it's going to be like this. How about you? Okay, that'll be like this. So pull your audience in. It's not this I, me, my kind of thing. Or even we. It's about you connect with the audience. Because I think you can sell it. But the reason people aren't always fully sold, I think, is because they see it kind of like, oh, wow, that's an interesting thing to inform me about. But they don't really feel that you're actually connecting with them and trying to get them to develop and improve themselves personally.